I used to believe in fairy tales, or at least the modern version of them. The kind where success, power, and love intertwine seamlessly, creating the illusion of a perfect life. And for a long time, I thought I had it all. My name is James Carter, and by every measure, I was a man who had won at life. A multimillionaire entrepreneur, respected by my peers, admired by many, and most importantly, married to Olivia, stunning, poised, and in my mind, deeply devoted to me. We met at a charity gala in New York. Olivia had walked into the ballroom in a sapphire blue dress that clung to her frame like it had been painted onto her. She was breathtaking. Every man in the room turned to look, but she only had eyes for me, or so I believed. Our connection had been instant. She was intelligent, charming, and had a way of making me feel like I was the only man in the world. People envied us. At business events, colleagues would pull me aside and tell me how lucky I was to have found a woman like her. "She's a queen, James," one of my closest friends had once told me. "Hold on to her tight." And I did. I showered Olivia with everything she could ever want: luxury vacations, designer clothes, a penthouse overlooking Central Park. I thought love was about giving, about making sure the person beside you had everything they could ever desire. And yet, if I had paid closer attention, I would have seen the cracks forming long before the facade collapsed. Olivia had her secrets, small ones at first, little white lies that seemed harmless. A canceled lunch with friends that never existed, unexplained charges on her credit card for places she never mentioned visiting, whispered phone calls she always dismissed as work matters. I chalked it up to the stresses of life. After all, she had given up her modest life to marry into wealth. Maybe she was still adjusting. Then there were the times when she seemed absent, even when she was right in front of me. She would stare into the distance, her expression unreadable, as though lost in a memory she wished she could relive. When I'd ask her what was wrong, she'd smile. Always that same practiced, beautiful smile, and tell me she was just tired. "Everything is perfect, James," she'd say, brushing a hand along my cheek. I couldn't ask for more. And I believed her. I should have known. Love, real love, isn't a performance. It isn't rehearsed or perfectly executed. But I was blind, caught in the illusion that the world saw: a billionaire and his stunning wife, a couple with the perfect life. One evening, Olivia was getting ready for another gala, one of those high-profile charity events that we had to attend to keep up appearances. She stood in front of the vanity mirror, applying her makeup with precision. Her reflection was flawless, her beauty undeniable, but her eyes were elsewhere. I walked up behind her, wrapping my arms around her waist, pressing a kiss against her bare shoulder. "You look perfect," I murmured. She smiled at me in the mirror. "Do I?" There was something in her voice, a hesitation, a quiet detachment. "You always do," I said, squeezing her waist gently. "I don't know what I did to deserve you." She turned in my arms then, pressing a soft kiss to my lips. "You love me," she whispered. "That's enough." I should have caught the lie in those words. The first real sign came a month later. Olivia had been acting strange, more distant than usual. One morning, I woke up to find her sitting on the edge of the bed, her phone in hand, typing something furiously. When she noticed I was awake, she quickly locked the screen and slid it under the pillow. "Who were you texting?" I asked, my voice groggy. "Just a friend," she replied, too quickly. I sat up, rubbing my eyes. "At 6 in the morning?" She shrugged. "Standing up? Couldn't sleep?" She avoided my gaze, walking into the bathroom and shutting the door behind her. My gut told me something was wrong. But love makes fools of us all. I convinced myself I was being paranoid. Olivia was my wife. She loved me, didn't she? It wasn't until I found the letter that the illusion shattered. It was a late evening. Olivia had gone out with some friends, and I had stayed behind to go through some work emails. I was searching for a document in her study. She liked to keep her own space in the penthouse, a room filled with her books, her journals, little things she had collected over the years. That was when I found it. A cream-colored envelope, half tucked under a stack of papers on her desk. Curiosity got the best of me. I pulled it out, my name nowhere on it. But the words inside, they ripped through me like a blade. Daniel, my love, it won't be long now. Soon, I'll be free. Soon, I'll be yours completely. James suspects nothing. He still thinks I love him. He's already planned his birthday dinner. How poetic, isn't it? It will be our new beginning. Just be patient. After that night, I will belong to you forever. My hands trembled as I read and reread the words, my breath catching in my throat. The room spun. Olivia, my Olivia, had never been mine at all. She loved someone else. She was planning to leave me. But worse than that, she was planning to kill me. My birthday, the dinner I had arranged myself, a night I had looked forward to, thinking it would be a celebration of my life, my success. Instead, it was meant to be the end of me. I felt sick. The walls of our home, the life we had built together, it was all a lie, a carefully crafted illusion, and I had been nothing more than a pawn in her game. But Olivia had made a mistake. She thought I suspected nothing. She thought I was blind. But now, I saw everything, and I would not be the fool she thought I was. Betrayal has a distinct taste. It's bitter, metallic, laced with something cold that settles deep in your bones. As I sat in my dimly lit study that night, Olivia's letter in my shaking hands, I felt that bitterness consume me whole. I had read it at least a dozen times, hoping, praying that I had misunderstood. But no, every word was as clear as a knife pressed to my throat. Daniel, my love, it won't be long now. Soon, I'll be free. Soon, I'll be yours completely. James suspects nothing. He still thinks I love him. He's already planned his birthday dinner. How poetic, isn't it? It will be our new beginning. Just be patient. After that night, I will belong to you forever. A lump formed in my throat as I traced the delicate curves of Olivia's handwriting. The same hand that had written me love notes on our anniversaries. The same hand that had clutched mine during our vows. Now, that same hand had written a promise, one that would end with my death. My birthday was in a week. 7 days. 7 days before she poisoned me like some disposable inconvenience, inherited my fortune, and ran off into the arms of her true love. The thought made my blood boil. The anger came in waves. First, it was hot, blinding rage. I wanted to storm out of my study, grab Olivia, shove this letter in her face, and demand to know how long she had been planning this. I wanted to see her face when she realized she had been caught. I wanted her to feel the fear she had planned for me. But then, a colder, more dangerous kind of anger settled in. A calculated fury. Confronting her now would accomplish nothing. She would deny it. She would cry, spin some lie, and turn the situation around, making me look like the paranoid husband who didn't trust his wife. No, if Olivia had played me for a fool all this time, it was only fair I returned the favor. I wasn't just going to stop her. I was going to destroy her. The first thing I did was secure my assets. I had always trusted Olivia, perhaps too much. She had access to my finances, my accounts, my business dealings. It had never occurred to me that one day, I might need to protect myself from the woman I had promised forever to. I contacted my financial advisor, a man who had been with me since my first million. I want to restructure my will, I told him over the phone, keeping my voice calm, controlled. And I need to temporarily freeze Olivia's access to our joint accounts. There was a pause. James, is everything okay? Just a precaution, I lied. I'm making some changes, that's all. He hesitated but agreed. Within hours, Olivia's financial privileges were revoked. She wouldn't notice immediately. She never checked the accounts. She only spent. But when she did realize, it would be too late. Next, I hired a private investigator. If Olivia had planned this so meticulously, if she had kept her love for Daniel alive all this time, then there was more to the story. I needed details. How long had they been seeing each other? Had she done this before? Were there other secrets she had buried beneath our perfect life? The investigator, a no-nonsense woman named Karen Mercer, listened to my request with a raised brow. "You think your wife is trying to kill you?" she asked, scribbling notes in a small leather notebook. "I don't think," I said, placing the letter on her desk. "I know." She read it, her eyes scanning the words carefully. When she looked up, there was something new in her gaze. Respect, maybe, or curiosity. Most men in your position wouldn't have caught on until it was too late. I was one of those men, I admitted, exhaling slowly. "Until tonight." She nodded. "I'll look into it. If there's anything to find, I'll find it." And with that, the pieces of my plan were set into motion. That night, I returned to Olivia as though nothing had changed. She was curled up on the couch in our penthouse, flipping through a magazine, a glass of red wine in her hand. She looked up as I walked in, smiling sweetly. "Hey, love. You were working late." My stomach twisted. How many times had I walked into this exact moment, completely blind to the venom lurking beneath that smile? I forced a chuckle, walking over to her and pressing a kiss to her forehead. "Got caught up in some emails," I lied effortlessly. "You know how it is." She sighed dramatically. "You work too hard, James. That's why I planned something special for your birthday." I tensed. "Oh." She set the magazine down and shifted, looking at me with that same feigned innocence I had once adored. "Just a small, intimate dinner. Something elegant, just how you like it." She reached for my hand, squeezing it lightly. "You deserve it." I studied her, forcing my expression to remain soft, loving. "That sounds perfect, Liv." She smiled again, leaning into my chest. I wrapped my arms around her, my heart hammering against my ribs. She had no idea that I knew. No idea that she was the one walking into a trap. But I wouldn't kill her. No, that would be too merciful. Instead, I would let her fall into the abyss she had dug for me. Let her taste the bitterness of betrayal. Let her watch her carefully laid plans crumble beneath her feet. And when the time was right, when she thought she had won, I would be there, waiting, to show her just how wrong she was. Betrayal isn't just an act, it's a pattern. And as I sat in my study, sifting through the private investigator's report, I realized Olivia's betrayal ran far deeper than I ever imagined. She wasn't just planning to kill me. She had done this before. The first thing Karen Mercer uncovered was a name. Ethan Graves. 10 years ago, Ethan had been a rising real estate mogul in Chicago. Young, wealthy, ambitious, just like me. And just like me, he had fallen for Olivia. Back then, she had gone by a different last name. Her maiden name, Olivia Barrett. The two had been engaged, their love splashed across society pages. But then, something happened. Ethan's empire collapsed overnight. His business partner accused him of embezzlement, his accounts were emptied, and within months, he had nothing left. He was last seen leaving his penthouse late one evening. His car was found abandoned near Lake Michigan the next morning. His body was never recovered. His case was officially ruled as suicide. But I knew better. "She ruined him," Karen said, her voice calm but edged with something sharp. "And I don't think he was the only one." She placed another file in front of me. A thinner one this time, with another name in bold print. Mark Bennett. I clenched my jaw. Who was he? An investment banker in London. Dated Olivia for 2 years. They broke up after he was accused of insider trading. He swore he was innocent, but the evidence against him was airtight. He lost everything. He fled to Spain, where he's been off the radar ever since. I ran a hand down my face. "And you think she set him up?" Karen nodded. "The timing is too perfect. Every man Olivia has been with ends up destroyed, financially or otherwise. And now, it's your turn." A cold chill ran down my spine. I had married a monster. With every new discovery, my fury grew. Olivia hadn't just betrayed me. She had made a career out of it. She was a predator, slipping into men's lives, making them love her, and then tearing them apart when she was done. And I had almost been her next victim. I had no time to waste. I contacted my lawyer, an old friend from college, and requested an annulment. "James, you've been married for 3 years," he said, confused. "An annulment is usually for marriages that were never legally valid." I exhaled. "Exactly. And this marriage was built on fraud." He hesitated. "You're saying she deceived you into marriage?" "She never loved me," I said, gripping the phone tighter. "She married me for my money, and now she's planning to kill me for it. I have proof." Silence. Then, finally, my lawyer sighed. "All right, I'll start the paperwork. But this won't be easy, James. If she fights back, she won't get the chance." I cut in. I was going to make sure of that. The next step was making sure Olivia had no idea what was coming. If she realized I knew, she might change her plans. She might try something desperate, and I couldn't risk that. So, I played the part of the loving husband. Each morning, I kissed her forehead as I left for work. Each evening, I listened as she talked about her plans for my birthday. A private dinner, an expensive bottle of wine. No doubt the very drink she planned to lace with poison. She was so confident, so sure of herself. She had no idea that every moment she spent weaving her web, I was cutting through it thread by thread. 3 days before my birthday, Karen called me with one last revelation. "You're not the only one watching Olivia," she said. "There's someone else in the picture." I frowned. "Daniel?" "No," she said slowly. "Someone from her past. A woman." I leaned forward. "Who?" "Her former best friend. A woman named Laura Stevens. She and Olivia used to be inseparable. But then, suddenly, they had a falling out, and Laura left the country. She moved to Canada and disappeared from Olivia's life completely." "And you think Olivia had something to do with that?" Karen sighed. "I don't think it. I know it. Laura filed a restraining order against Olivia a month before she vanished. I don't know what happened between them, but Laura was terrified of her." My pulse quickened. Olivia had buried more secrets than I had realized. "Find her," I said. "If anyone knew the truth about my wife, it was Laura. And I needed that truth before my birthday arrived." Before Olivia made her final move, as I hung up the phone, I sat back in my chair and stared at the ceiling. The woman I had loved, the woman I had trusted with my life, had been playing me from the very beginning. She had done this before. She would do it again. But this time, her plan wouldn't succeed. This time, she wouldn't just lose. She would fall. And I would be there to watch it happen. The night before my birthday, I sat alone in my study, staring at the envelope in front of me. Inside it was every dark truth I had uncovered about Olivia. Her past victims, her deceit, her plan to kill me. Every single page felt like a weight pressing against my chest, but I knew this was necessary. Tonight, everything would come to light. Tonight, I would finally face the woman I had once believed was my soulmate. Olivia was in the living room when I found her, curled up on the sofa with a glass of red wine in her hand. The fire crackled in the hearth, casting a warm glow over her flawless skin. To anyone else, she looked like the perfect wife, elegant, poised, and utterly devoted. But I knew the truth now. I knew the darkness beneath the beauty. I stepped forward, my grip tightening around the envelope. "We need to talk." She turned, flashing me that soft, practiced smile. "Of course, darling. Is everything okay?" I ignored the tenderness in her voice. I wouldn't let myself fall for her act anymore. I placed the envelope on the coffee table between us. "Read it." Her brows furrowed slightly, but she didn't move. Instead, she swirled her wine lazily in her glass, studying me with quiet curiosity. "What is this?" "Evidence," I said simply. A slow smirk curled at the corner of her lips. "Evidence of what, James?" I refused to let her get under my skin. "Of who you really are." Still, she didn't reach for the envelope. Instead, she took a deliberate sip of her wine, her eyes never leaving mine. "Let's skip the theatrics. Just tell me what you think you know." I exhaled sharply. I know about Ethan Graves. A flicker of something passed through her gaze, but she quickly masked it with indifference. I know about Mark Bennett, I continued. I know how they both lost everything after being with you. And I know about Daniel, the man you've been writing to behind my back. This time, she laughed. So, you've been snooping through my things? You plan to kill me, Olivia. Don't pretend to be offended. She leaned back, crossing one leg over the other. All right, let's say, hypothetically, I did write a letter like that. What are you going to do about it? I clenched my fists. I've moved my assets. You won't get a single cent from me. And first thing tomorrow, I'm filing for an annulment. For the first time, I saw something crack in her carefully composed expression. It wasn't fear. It was amusement. She tilted her head, a slow, eerie smile spreading across her lips. Oh, James, she murmured. You really think you've won, don't you? I narrowed my eyes. You've lost. You have nothing. Nothing? She let out another soft laugh and placed her wine glass on the table. Then, in one fluid motion, she stood up and closed the distance between us. Oh, darling, you still don't understand, do you? My jaw tightened. Understand what? She leaned in, her lips just inches from mine. I never loved you, she whispered. The words should have hurt. They should have cut through me like a blade. But I had already prepared myself for this. I know, I said coldly. She pulled back slightly, studying me, searching for a crack in my armor. When she didn't find one, her smile vanished. Fine, she said. I never loved you. I was never interested in you. Only your money, your power, the life you could give me. She stepped back and crossed her arms. But here's the thing, James. I've had a change of heart. I frowned. What? She exhaled dramatically. I was going to go through with it, you know. The plan. The poison. I even bought the bottle of wine I was going to use. A sick feeling curled in my stomach, but I didn't let it show. But then, she trailed off, as if searching for the right words. Then she lifted her eyes to meet mine. Something changed. I scoffed. Nothing changed. You just got caught. She shook her head. No, I mean it, James. I realized I don't want to go through with it anymore. I don't want your money, your estate, your fortune. She took another step toward me. I want you. I stared at her, disgust twisting in my gut. You expect me to believe that? Her eyes softened. Believe it or not, I've come to love the life we've built together. I don't want to destroy it anymore. I let out a bitter laugh. You're lying. She reached for my hand, but I pulled away. James, listen to me. I know I've done terrible things, but I'm telling you the truth now. For the first time, I'm being real with you. No more secrets. No more lies. I shook my head. No, Olivia. This is just another one of your manipulations. Is it? She challenged. Or are you just scared that you might still love me? I felt my stomach churn. No, I wouldn't let her get inside my head. I turned away. It doesn't matter. You're leaving tonight. She let out a small chuckle. And if I don't? I turned back to her, my voice sharp. Then I'll call the police. You can explain the letter to them. For a moment, she just stared at me. Then, finally, she sighed. All right, James. You win. She walked past me, picking up her purse from the couch. I'll go. But don't fool yourself into thinking this is the end of our story. I didn't respond. I stood there, watching as she strolled toward the door, her heels clicking softly against the marble floor. As she reached the threshold, she paused. Without turning back, she said, "Happy early birthday, darling." Then she was gone. And for the first time in years, I was alone. But the lingering question remained. Had Olivia truly given up? Or was this just the beginning of something far more dangerous? The silence in the house was deafening. Olivia was gone, at least for now. But I knew her too well to believe she would walk away so easily. No, she would try something. She always did. I sat in my study, staring at my phone. The private investigator had sent over the final pieces of evidence: bank statements, surveillance footage, even old court records of her past victims. The weight of it all pressed down on me, but there was no room for hesitation. It was time to end this. The next morning, I called Olivia. She picked up on the second ring. "James," she purred. "I was wondering when I'd hear from you." I didn't respond to her attempt at charm. "We need to talk. Face to face." There was a pause. Then, a soft chuckle. "Oh, regretting last night already?" I ignored her. "Come by the house in an hour. Alone." She hesitated, then sighed dramatically. "Fine. One last conversation." Little did she know, this would be the final chapter of our twisted story. Olivia arrived right on time, dressed in a sleek black dress, as if this were some casual business meeting. She walked into the living room like she owned the place, her eyes scanning the room before settling on me. "I see you haven't thrown out my things yet," she mused. I didn't rise from my seat. "Sit." She arched a brow but did as I said, crossing her legs elegantly. "So, what's this about, James? Ready to take me back?" I slid a folder across the table. "Open it." She gave me a tired look before flipping it open. Her expression didn't change as she skimmed the pages. "More files? More accusations?" She sighed, closing the folder. "James, this is getting boring." I leaned forward. "This isn't a game, Olivia. I'm giving you a choice." She tilted her head. "Oh, and what would that be?" "You leave. Now. With nothing." My voice was calm, controlled. "No money, no property, no access to my accounts. You walk away and disappear." Her smile barely wavered. "And if I don't?" "Then I hand all of this to the police." I gestured to the folder. "And you spend the rest of your life behind bars." A flicker of something passed through her eyes. Anger. Fear. But just as quickly as it appeared, it was gone, replaced with an icy glare. "You think you can just erase me?" she hissed. "I already have," I said. "The banks have frozen all joint accounts. Your cards won't work. You have no access to anything I own. Your game is over." For the first time, her mask cracked. She slammed the folder shut, her fingers curling into fists. "You think you can do this to me?" Her voice was rising. "After everything?" I stood up, towering over her. "After everything? Olivia, you planned to kill me. You were going to poison me on my birthday and run off with Daniel." At the mention of his name, she flinched. That's when I knew. Daniel had no idea what she had planned. She had been using him just like she had used me. Her lips curled into a sneer. "So, what? You're sending me off like some discarded toy?" "I'm giving you an out," I said. "Because despite everything, I'm not like you. Take it." She shook her head, laughing bitterly. "And if I refuse?" I gestured toward the door, where 2 security guards had been waiting. "Then you're escorted out. And the next place you'll be going is a prison cell?" She turned, finally noticing them. Her face darkened. "You wouldn't dare." "I already did." I pulled out my phone and pressed a button. Within seconds, there was a sharp knock at the door. The police had arrived. Olivia shot up from her seat. "You bastard!" she spat, her eyes wild with rage. She lunged at me, but before she could reach me, the security guards stepped in. One grabbed her arms, pulling her back. "Let me go!" she shrieked, struggling against them. "James, you can't do this." I adjusted my cuffs, watching her unravel. "I already have." "You'll regret this," she screamed, her voice cracking. The police officers entered, one of them stepping forward with a pair of handcuffs. "Olivia Carter, you are under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, fraud, and multiple counts of financial deception." She turned to me, her face contorted in fury. "This is his fault. Daniel. He made me do this." I felt my stomach twist. There it was. The final betrayal. She wasn't even going to take responsibility. She was going to throw him under the bus, just like she had done to me. But I didn't care anymore. I watched as the officers secured the cuffs around her wrists. "James, please," she sobbed now, the anger fading into desperation. "We can fix this. I'll make it right." I met her gaze, my expression unreadable. "There's nothing left to fix." As they dragged her toward the door, she let out one final, piercing scream. Then, she was gone. And just like that, Olivia Carter, my wife, my betrayer, fell. The waves crashed gently against the shore as I sat on my balcony, a steaming cup of coffee in my hands. The scent of salt and morning air mixed in a way that felt cleansing. It had been months since Olivia was arrested, months since I had last seen her face twisted in rage and desperation. And yet, I still woke up some mornings expecting to find her beside me. Old habits die hard, I suppose. But this morning was different. This morning, I felt free. I had left the city behind, moving to a quiet coastal town where no one knew my name. I didn't need the constant reminders of the past. The mansion, the luxury, the social circles. None of it had ever truly been mine. They had been part of the illusion Olivia crafted, a life built on lies. Now, I had something real. A simple house. A business I actually enjoyed running. And most importantly, peace. Until today. I heard the mailman's footsteps on the wooden porch, followed by the quiet thump of letters hitting the mailbox. Something told me before I even opened it. She had found a way to reach me. I picked up the envelope, my fingers tightening around it. The handwriting was unmistakable. Olivia. I should have thrown it away right then and there. But some part of me, some small, foolish part, needed to know. I tore it open, my eyes scanning the words. "James, I know I don't deserve this, but please listen. Daniel left me. He never loved me. I was a fool. I see that now. The prison walls are cold, and I have no one left. No money. No future. You were the best thing that ever happened to me, and I threw it away. Please, James, just one reply. Just one chance to make this right." I stared at the paper, the ink smudged in places. Tears, maybe. A few months ago, this letter might have shaken me, might have made me wonder if she really had changed. If, somewhere under all the lies and manipulation, there had been something real between us. But I knew better now. Olivia wasn't sorry for what she had done. She was sorry for where she had ended up. She wanted me to save her. For the first time in my life, I felt absolutely nothing for her. No anger, no sadness, no hatred, just nothing. I walked over to the fireplace, the letter still in my hands. The flames flickered softly as I held the paper over them, watching as the edges curled and blackened. The words disappeared, turning into ash, carried away by the rising heat. Gone. I exhaled, stepping back as the fire swallowed the last of Olivia Carter. Then, I turned and stepped outside, into the bright, open air, into a life that, for the first time in a long time, truly belonged to me. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more gripping tales. What would you have done in James's place? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, stay tuned for the next thrilling story. See you soon.